morning, everyone, and welcome back to AMC. I'm Hallie, your hostess. I hope everyone's having a beautiful day. It's surely beautiful here. The birds are chirping, the sun is shining. I can't complain. I'm really excited that it's gorgeous out today. I hope the pain has been kind to you guys and been gentle with you and not too bad. I know how it can feel when the weather changes and it doesn't play nice with your body. I get it. So we're going to talk a little bit about a hard subject. A lot of people tend to avoid talking about grief and grieving, but I think it's important that we make it not taboo and get it out in the open and let people know that it's okay, that what they're going through and what they're feeling when they're dealing with grief and grieving. There's varying degrees to it, and it can hit you in sporadic moments, and it just can suck. So I think we should talk about it and get it out in the open. I think the first time I ever had to deal with death, I was 5 or 6. And we had to go put our family dog down, Peppers. She was in a lot of pain, and it was just time for her to go. So my parents thought it would be a good learning moment for me about death. And I definitely remember it. It was very hard for me. One moment there was life in her, and then in the next instant she was gone. And that was really, it did teach me about death, and it sucked. Even our other dog at home, Bianca, she was my pup, she would even grieve. She got very lethargic. She basically stopped eating for a while, and she didn't really perk up until my parents got our other dog, Mookie. We had really interesting dog names. Peppers and Bianca, and then Mookie. But dogs grieve too. They grieve member of their pack missing as well, just like humans. It's really, really sad, but it's incredible to know and witness other creatures having emotions that we humans have too. I've been dealing with death my whole life, basically. I think a lot of people have. My uncle died when I was about 9 or 10, and he died from AIDS. And his partner, once my uncle died, his partner basically stopped all contact with us. I think for him, now being adult, I understand what it's like grieving and having those complex emotions. But as a child, I didn't understand why my uncle stopped talking to us once my other uncle died. But now I do understand. He was just grieving the loss of his loved one, his partner in crime, his best friend. We reminded him of my uncle, and it was just too hard for him. So it was easier for him to cut contact with us. So in essence, I basically lost 2 uncles, which sucked as a kid. I didn't understand, but, that's life sometimes, and you gotta learn somehow. I have lost friends to suicide, multiple friends to suicide, a couple to accidents, vehicle accidents. I lost my dad to a car accident. It just sucks. Death is not a pleasant thing to go through. It really, it's hard. When my best friend died when I was at my therapeutic boarding school, I was about 15. And I remember getting the phone call from my parents that she had died. And everything stopped working around me. Like, I remember them talking to me on the phone, and my counselor was sitting right in front of me, like trying to be supportive, but I didn't hear anything. All after I heard that she had died, my heart dropped. And I think that was such a different death than my uncle's. It was hard. and my boarding school refused to let me go to her funeral. So I didn't get the opportunity to go and have closure and grieve with my friends and with her family. And I was kind of alone in my grief, if you will. And my boarding school didn't really help me cope with that either, so I had to kind of find my own way. And I eventually started writing a journal to her. I would write to her every day, and in the beginning it was me expressing how guilty I felt for her getting into drugs. She had a heart malfunction, basically, that the doctors didn't even detect when she was a baby, and her heart just stopped on her. And she could have had this heart failure anywhere. She could have had it at the mall. She could have had it anywhere, but she had it at a wilderness, and it was the wilderness that my parents sent me to before she got sent there. And I felt guilty. I felt like it was my fault. You know, I got her into drugs. I got her into trouble, and that's why she got sent there to the wilderness. And I really beat myself up about it for a long, long time. And that sucked. That sucked to have those feelings. And then writing to her and expressing those emotions, and then kind of coming to terms with forgiving myself for bringing her down that path really helped. And it helped me get my own closure that I needed when I couldn't really get the closure that I should have gotten. I'm grateful that after my boarding school, I reached out to her parents and her sister, her younger sister, and they were very understanding and very sweet. And I apologized to them because I felt like I needed to. And, you know, having those feelings of guilt, I think, is a normal grieving process. I've definitely felt that with my friends who had committed suicide. That feeling of being so alone and like there's no escape except death, that's what their options were, really broke my heart. Like, I was a crappy friend that they couldn't call and say, hey, I'm struggling, I want to die, like, I don't know what to do, I'm feeling very alone. Like, they couldn't, it broke my heart that they felt like they couldn't reach out to anyone, and not even me. And I started beating myself up for that. And I think it's just a normal process you go through. Guilt and pleading, wishing that you could have changed things or said things differently or done things differently. Definitely, it gets you for sure. But you have to learn to forgive yourself and forgive them, because I was angry too that they chose to kill themselves. I remember being very angry. It's okay too to have those feelings. It's not a fun feeling, right? Like, you just lost your friend. You don't want to be angry at them, but sometimes the anger is an easier emotion to deal with at times. And it just sucks. Death just sucks. And that heartache of missing them, you know, can't believe that you're not going to celebrate another birthday with them. You're not going to hit those milestones that you're supposed to hit as adults, right? Weddings, reunions. It blows hardcore. I think the hardest hitting death I had to deal with was my dad. He got in a car accident, and that was a shitty time. I never really used to have panic attacks or anxiety attacks prior to my dad's death, but his death just sent me over, and I would have crippling anxiety and panic attacks, and I would have them multiple times a day. And I got to the point where I just didn't remember that I was having them or that I had them, and my husband would be calming me down, and it was just a shitty time and a weird time, and it was hard. In those moments when you are in the crippling stages of grief, lean on the people around you. They really do want to help you, and they just don't know how. I remember my husband, he was also grieving for the loss of my dad too, because my dad really loved Chris, my husband. And I think learning how to deal with grief, but also trying to be a support system for your wife was probably really difficult to learn it, like on the spur of the moment, you know? And it's hard. It's hard to know what to do, what you need to do, or what you need to be for that person in those moments. So I eventually learned how to communicate what I needed and what was helpful, right? What was helpful for me to get through those moments. So when you're in those crippling stages, express what you're needing and what you're feeling. It's okay if you say, hey, I'm struggling really hard right now and I just need some space. Or can you just hug me? When I was in Phoenix with my mom, after my dad had died, she was having really bad anxiety and panic attacks as well, and we had friends that would call and say, how can we help? What do you need? And I remember it felt a little overwhelming at times, and so I realized that my mom and I weren't really eating, and my husband was like starving because, you know, he'd go and get food, but you know how it is. It's hard dealing with death and then two really emotional women. And so I learned to ask the friends for food. So a little advice, if you have friends or family members that want to help you but they don't know how and they just keep asking and it's overwhelming to you, just let them know like that you need food. It's okay to tell people what you need. It really is. It's okay to tell people what you need, and it's okay to express that. It means a lot to them, actually. It helps them out, and it makes them feel like they're fulfilling a purpose in helping you. You know, I've been there too, where I want to help a friend, but they just completely shut out and shut down. And it's like, you don't want to be that pestering friend and family member that drives them over the edge, but you don't want them to be alone, and you want them to know that they're there, that you're there for them. So communication is key, people. Remember this. Even when it's a hard, crippling moment, just tell them, like, I am not okay. I am not okay. Please just sit here with me, or distract me, or whatever you need. But if you don't know what you need, just tell them you need food, because you do. I would forget to eat, and it just is a nice reminder when someone brings a home-cooked meal and they're like, here you go. It's very helpful. Don't forget that you're not alone in having to deal with your grief. I definitely have learned how to grieve in multitude of ways, from grieving to death of family and friends to having to grieve for my past self, my past life. My disease has taken a lot from me, as you all know, and it became really depressing and hard for me. There was moments where I would think about death daily, like I wanted to die, and I would plead to God to kill me. But I didn't want to kill myself, because I didn't want to do that to my friends and family, because I know what it's like to lose people to suicide, and I just would not want to ever put my friends and family through that. So I was in this horrible mindset. I was just in this depressed, downward spiral, basically. I was in this depressed, horrible, dark abyss, and I couldn't get out of it. And I needed to. It's not who I am, and it's not the life I want to live. So basically, I decided I needed to mourn myself. I needed to mourn my past life. I can no longer do those things, and I will no longer be able to do those things. And so I had to come to terms with that. And the best way I knew how was to grieve for myself. I basically looked at my past life as I was dead. And that's what sucks, right? Like, that's not what you're wanting in life. That's not what you think you'll ever have to go through, is to mourn your past life and look at you as dead. But everybody is not the same. We all grow and change. And I that's where I kind of started my mindset. And I just kind of went from there. And I like rock climbing. I can't rock climb anymore. And so I would have let those emotions come and flow as I would feel them. The bitterness, the anger, the depression, whatever I was feeling, I would let that come. But I wouldn't get stuck in it. I would almost kind of give myself a time limit. And then I would start thinking about the positives in my life. Yes, I can't rock climb anymore, but I'm in a beautiful place where I'm surrounded by the forest and wildlife, a huge loving support system, and I just kind of go and build from there. I would even be as grateful for my tea that I was drinking. You know, the little things in life really I clung on to, and it really helped. This whole grieving process has really helped me accept who I am and my situation, and I can now kind of move on in a sense. I'm starting to find other avenues for my creative mind, hence this video blog. I also have my written blog, and I'm branching out to different little avenues to help myself be in a different mindset. Meditation has been huge in helping me stay in the present and being grateful for my life. And I highly recommend, like I've talked before, about developing a meditation practice. Check out mindvalley.com. They have a 6-day meditation practice that helps build you up a great foundation for meditation. I can't thank enough for that. I had a non-existent meditation practice prior to my dad's death, prior to my disease. You know, I wish I had known about it earlier, because maybe it would have been easier to cope with all of this. But you learn, right? You live, you learn. So don't be afraid to feel your emotions and what you're feeling. It's okay. Just don't bottle them up. Don't push them away, because they will let themselves known, and they won't let themselves known in a very pretty way. I have lashed out at people, random strangers, because I chose not to deal with some of my anxiety and my depression and the emotions I was feeling from losing people. And that's not fair to those people, to those strangers. It's not fair to myself to do that either. It's not healthy. And I think we need to allow ourselves to feel whatever we're feeling and not feel judged. And if people are judging you for that, then screw them. You don't need them in your life, and especially in those moments. So get rid of those people. But cherish the ones that stick around and want to help. Those are priceless and one-of-a-kind friendship. And I am very grateful for the ones that I have. So be kind to yourself and be patient. Know you're not alone in what you're going through. And there are a ton of avenues that you can reach out to. Please don't stuff that those emotions down. It's really, I can't express that enough, how you, that's just not a good way to go. If you have any questions about how to grieve for yourself, if you're kind of like me in my situation, please email me. I am more than willing to talk about it a little bit more. It's definitely a journey, and it's a hard one, but it can be done. I wish you all love and healing vibes, and if you are going through grief right now, I'm sending you so much love, and I'm so sorry that you're having to go through it. All right, everybody, be kind to one another.